Hi, my name is Ophi YouTube Videos. I am a feminist and a lesbian, and I make conversational commentary videos about both of those things. And one thing that I wanted to do before 2024, the first full calendar year of me having a YouTube channel, drew to a close, is to check back in on somebody who has been something of a recurring character on this channel, a man who has been a menace to women, teenagers, young girls. I would like to check back in on Drake Bell. If you've been here for a while, hi, thank you so much for hanging in there for so much of my first year figuring out how to make YouTube videos. In March of 2024, following the release of the HBO Max Quiet on Set documentary, I made a video called Why Is Eat Predators Giving Drake Bell's Darvo Campaign Free PR? Which then kicked off my video series about Eat Predators and some of the failings that I see within that organization when I realized that the shortcomings were not limited just to how fully Alexa threw her lot in with Drake Bell after they were both in that documentary together. But the Drake Bell thing was the first crack that started to show for a lot of people, or a final straw for a lot of people, myself included, as is very well documented in those Eat Predators videos. The Quiet on Set documentary, as well as what Eat Predators became, was essentially just a vehicle for a Drake Bell redemption campaign. And a redemption campaign that was, as far as I am concerned, wildly, wildly successful. Which is how I feared it would go down pretty much as soon as I learned that he was the much anticipated mystery guest in the Quiet on Set docuseries. I predicted and feared and was correct that it would be a very effective rug sweeping of the allegations against him, both from multiple ex-girlfriends as well as the allegations from an anonymous minor victim, which he pled guilty to in 2021 for the reckless endangerment of and distribution of materials harmful to her. You don't have to go back and watch all of those videos about Drake Bell if you weren't already here, as they were all coming out, and especially you probably shouldn't watch the very first one about his Darvo campaign because I did not have my audio quality remotely figured out at that point. Paige Christie, who has also kept her foot on Drake Bell's neck since the beginning of this redemption campaign, and who also covered him around the same time as I did, found my coverage and sent me this beautiful microphone, which was so kind of her and has been such an incredible improvement to the quality of my videos. I just never want to mention how bad my video quality used to be in those old videos without thanking her for this, because it's like such a difference. So thank you again to Paige Christie, who I think actually beat me by at least a week or two to Drake Bell blocking us on Twitter. She was blocked before I was. But yes, Drake Bell did in fact block me on Twitter after he commented on my video about him 16 times. The video of mine that he commented on was a video that I made pointing out just how much you have to suspend your disbelief to believe his version of events, where there was some grand conspiracy where every woman who came out against him with accusations of violence or abuse was doing that actually to protect Brian Peck, who was already a registered sex offender. I pointed out that it's very possible to both believe and have empathy for the abuse that Drake Bell suffered, and also to still hold on to our empathy and belief for the women who he inflicted his own violence and trauma onto, in turn. But that is how I learned that Drake Bell name searches and watches YouTube content about him, even when it is made by, at the time, somebody with about 3,000 subscribers, I think a little less. Fans of his by now have informed me that it actually is a trauma response for him to search videos with his name and watch them and comment on them 16 times, and that I should have, of course, taken my video down out of respect to him and for the fact that it triggered him. Clearly, I did not. I don't want to go through and recap each of those videos. That's, I think, a pretty good rundown of the beef between me and Drake Bell thus far. I was blocked on Twitter, like I said, but I later deleted my account, so I can't give you an update about his recent Twitter activity, and I did lose my bragging rights about being blocked by him. From when I looked up just his username on Google, it looks like he's still shilling some crypto bullshit, which is unsurprising to me. I have learned since the last time I talked about all of that he also got into it with CoffeeZilla a few years ago, so this isn't even a new thing. It's not that nobody calls this man out, it's that nothing sticks. So checking in on how this redemption campaign is going, in October, Drake Bell released a 35-track album called Non-Stop Flight. I saw nowhere near the amount of shit being thrown his way for that track length as I did for Taylor Swift doing Tortured Poets. It's a little interesting. I didn't listen to this album, and I'm not going to listen to this album. It does exist, though. I told you about it. And we knew it was coming because there was a music video for one of the singles released with Quiet on Set. And my suspicion always has been, I think I've voiced this before, I really suspect that the docuseries funded that music video. To me, the set kind of looks like the same. The timing is just too coincidental. It's just a theory. A Drake Bell theory. Drake also has been touring for his album, and I found what I thought was a delightful little write-up about his tour that I would like to read to you in part here. The Dallas stop is part of Bell's rollout tour for his new album Non-Stop Flight, the cover of which features Bell surrounded by women who appear to be half his age. Not a great look for someone who pleaded guilty to child endangerment 3 years ago when faced with allegations of sexual misconduct. The former child star had a rough fall from grace over the past decade, even before that, having been accused of verbal and physical abuse by ex-girlfriend Melissa Langefeld. Unfortunately, Bell's music isn't anything to write home about, which should be expected from someone whose artist bio gives more attention to their dead acting career than to their music. Unfortunately, I'm only aware of one concert of his that seems to have been cancelled following complaints made to the venue. It seems like beyond that, this tour has been going fairly well for him. And he's also, in a turn that I find predictable and yet nauseating, apparently hitting the nostalgia convention circuit. Thank you very, very much to the commenter who let me know about this in the comments on my recent deep dive about the Christy Carlson-Romano Podco collapse. I was talking in that video about the beef between the Ned's Declassified cast after the Quiet on Set documentary came out and Drake Bell, and I was alerted that the Ned's Declassified cast was at this nostalgia convention, and I was informed that Daniel Curtis Lee had posted like a short video that included a shot of Drake Bell, and also that later on they were on stage with him while he sang I Found a Way, I guess. Which feels very much like just trying to prove that there's no lasting beef between them after that back and forth, right? But the same commenter also let me know, and as is pointed out in this article that I found from Tron, Kevin Spacey was also a featured guest at that nostalgia convention. I want to read from that article now. Alumni of Nickelodeon and Cartoon Network shows, popular anime, and cartoonists, including Butch Hartman, who created Danny Phantom and the Fairly OddParents, will all be in attendance. But scattered throughout NostalgiaCon's lineup are a few, shall we say, incredibly controversial attendees. Front and center is Drake Bell of Drake and Josh, who in 2020 was accused of abusive behavior and preying on underage girls by his ex-girlfriend. Bell was also sentenced to 2 years of probation and 200 hours of community service in 2021 for endangering a 15-year-old girl, who later said that Bell groomed and sexually abused her. Bell made headlines earlier this year for his appearance at the Max documentary Quiet on Set, in which he revealed his own sexual abuse at the hands of a Nickelodeon dialogue coach. The Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide cast, who now have a podcast and gotten hot water for their own Quiet on Set related controversy, will also be there. Easily the most shocking attendee, hidden inconspicuously between Hey Arnold creator Craig Bartlett and Kids in the Hall co-founder Dave Foley, is none other than disgraced actor Kevin Spacey, who will be participating in a 25th anniversary celebration of the film A Bug's Life, a movie I forgot Kevin Spacey was actually in. So that's wild, right? Kevin Spacey is a little bit of a digression, I guess, but he's also not, because I think it being both Drake Bell and Kevin Spacey, and yeah, also other people who didn't have allegations against them, but both of those people were there, and of course they would have been, right? Why wouldn't they want to be there in a huge convention center full of people who think they are super cool and impressive and worth paying money to meet? But to the standards that these venues and organizations are having when they're making these conventions, that they're allowing these people in. It's bad. I don't like that. And why the fuck would you have Kevin Spacey be a featured guest at your event? Why the fuck would you put Drake Bell there when he has already pleaded guilty to the dissemination of materials that were harmful to a minor and to the reckless endangerment of that minor, of a fan who he met because she was a fan of his? Do we not think social media itself is already enough of a playground for this man? Why do we have to give him free rein in person at these nostalgia conventions? I hate that. I do not like that at all. But like I said, he played a concert there. I guess he did the I Found a Way or the Drake and Bell theme song with the Ned's Declassified cast. He's been doing a lot of music lately. Here's another wing of that redemption campaign. Drake Bell was on The Masked Singer this season, a show that I have never watched, and that sounds so incredibly made up. Best as I can tell, the way this show works is the same people perform every week, and the hosts try to guess who they are before they're eliminated, I guess. Drake Bell was eliminated on Miley Cyrus night, which was week 8. He's gotten a ton of really effusive press about his time on the show, because I think that's pretty much what The Masked Singer is for, maybe? I feel like it's up there with Dancing with the Stars, where it serves as like a soft form of image rehabilitation. Again, though, that's just my estimate as a person who has never ever seen The Masked Singer except for clips where Drake was just unmasked. But yeah, he's doing press rounds about that and about what a big deal Quiet on Set was for him, about having come forward about his abuse at the hands of Brian Peck. In one of those interviews that I read, he referenced being at the center of a media firestorm, which did make me wonder a little bit what the fuck he thinks he's talking about and who the fuck he thinks he's fooling. Because as I already mentioned, the conception of Drake Bell flipped on a dime following the Quiet on Set documentary. Very few people are willing to do anything other than take his side and completely absolve him of any wrongdoing on account of his own victimization. So it's a media firestorm, I guess, when Paige Christie and Kat Tenbarge and comparatively very few other people aren't willing to forgive you for abusing women. The other thing I'm seeing headlines about is Drake Bell talking about how badly he would like to reboot Drake and Josh. He's apparently pitching a Curb Your Enthusiasm style reboot of the show, playing coy about whether or not Josh Peck wants to be a part of it, which I do find a little bit funny, if only because I feel like Josh Peck has made it very clear he does not want to be a part of a Drake and Josh reboot. I was just talking about Josh Peck's memoir, Happy People Are Annoying, at the very, very end of my video about Podco, and because I read that, I know that he had been very upfront about not feeling or desiring to be very close to Drake Bell prior to the Quiet on Set documentary coming out, and while he does say that he has reached out to Drake Bell privately, maybe they have reconnected, I absolutely can see it not really changing anything, especially if Josh already knew about all of this. But even now, like, if they weren't close then and they're not close now, that's not surprising to me. But Drake wanting to do a Drake and Josh reboot is not a new development at all. That's just been the case ever since Drake and Josh ended, I'm pretty sure. Drake has always been desperate to go back to Drake and Josh less so. I also remember from watching the Quentin Reviews videos that when that Henry Danger, I think, show did like an animated Drake and Josh cameo, not only was Josh Peck not part of it, but Drake was the one who said, "Hug me, brother." Ideologically, I don't agree with Josh Peck, but he did kind of go off with the distancing himself from Drake Bell thing. These are the updates as I've had my eye on them from social media, a cursory Google search, and just the push notifications that my phone gives me because I have read so many articles about Drake Bell over the last year. If I missed anything, please let me know. I know in the spring of next year we definitely will be talking again about the impact that Quiet on Set has had once we're at the 1 year anniversary of that. And that would be an easy addition into the What I've Missed segment of that video, I think. We have, of course, also already discussed at length Alexa Nicholas publishing the drive of documents from the police investigation into Drake Bell that led to the charges he pled guilty to. But I will say again, nothing in those documents did anything to prove any kind of innocence, because if they did, they wouldn't have led to the charges. Alexa dropped the link to that drive as smoke and mirrors to hide her escape before she went into silence for a few months. Nothing in those documents exonerated Drake. If they did, he wouldn't have needed to plead guilty. Drake got an extremely, extremely good plea deal, and he's been running around for so long talking about how unfair it is, and I agree it was unfair, but he and I think it was unfair in completely different directions. He thinks the part that's unfair, even though the larger public overall believes his claims and repeats them for him, that not everybody does. And I'm just not going to do that for him. Not even if he finds this video and leaves me another 16 comments. I simply do not run PR campaigns for abusive men. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for joining me in my attempt to create at least some little corner of the internet where people like this are held accountable. And also a huge thank you to my Patreon subscribers, a few of whose names you can see on the screen right now. The Patreon is a fantastic way to help support me if you're interested in a few extra videos a month from me, or just to give me a little bit of money. It's a really huge help for me. I also have a coffee if you're interested in a one-off tip or donation. That's also very helpful. Thank you so much to everybody who has supported me through the Patreon, through coffee, through sending me money directly, through donating to a GoFundMe I had to do earlier this year when I looked like I was going to lose my housing. Legitimately, that saved my bacon. Even people who haven't directly sent me money have still helped me very, very much by just hanging out, watching my videos all the way through to the end, liking them. People who like will talk about me in nice ways on Reddit if somebody like asks for a rundown of a situation and they link to my video. That has been so amazing. The growth that I've seen my first full calendar year on this channel has been really, really, really exciting to me. I love you, and I'm very, very grateful for every bit of it. Fuck Drake Bell. I'll see you again soon.